back once again. Thanks for tuning in to the Still Knick Fans podcast. This is episode 4. I'm your man, Ron, and this is my brother, John. What's going on, bro?
Doing well, man. Glad to be back. Episode 4. How quick that goes, right? It's so quick. It seems like night and day. We started at the beginning of the year, of the season, and we're already at episode 4. So that's 4 weeks in. That's crazy.
Yeah, man. It happens fast. It seems like only like yesterday. You know what I mean? I think
Yeah, for sure, man.
we have some good stuff to get into in regards to these New York Knickerbockers. But before I get into that, let me just make it clear right now that I was right. Okay, I predicted that the Knicks were
I
going to
was
win.
about to say that.
I'm just, you know what I'm saying? I predicted the Knicks was going to win 3 games, and hey, guess what? The Knicks won 3 games. You know what I mean? I'm not a fortune teller. I could just see what's right and what's wrong, and that was right.
You are the Weta Mercado of our era, I'm telling you. Not so much pizzazz, but you know what
Yeah,
I'm saying.
no. He had the style and swagger. I don't got the swagger. I just got the knowledge, man. The knowledge.
You got that low-key knowledge right there. I feel you. Soon we're
Yeah,
gonna be hitting those horoscopes, checking in on where they at, buried and all. What's their horoscopes? Where is the sun and the moon in the right spot for them to have a good game?
I'm gonna tell you something. When
It's
when
gonna be
when, when
something.
Mercury's in retrograde, then we'll know what's happening with these Knickerbockers.
There you go. You started it.
All
But
right,
yeah, that
man.
was a great job, by the way. Calling it. I'm gonna give you props for that one. That was pretty dope. I did not expect to come off this week winning that week. You know what I mean? I was less optimistic than you were. So kudos to you. That was dope.
Hey, man.
What we
Look,
got going on?
we'll get right into it. I'm just happy that I was right. You know what? The Knicks make me look good right now. Let's keep it going. So, you know, first game up on this week of Knick games to cover was the Knicks versus the Indiana Pacers. Um, and I had mentioned that I felt like the Knicks were going to win this game because it's in my mind the revenge game, right? They played against them last time, and Sabonis was giving them the business. Um, they had nobody that could really hang with him, and Miles Turner was just cleaning up everything else, like getting the blocks on the weak side, getting all the rebounds. It was too much for them to handle at that time. So I was hoping that after going through that, they would come out this next time around and really want to show that they can hang with the Pacers, and they did that, and they came out great. Um, as a matter of fact, I think R.J. Barrett had one of his better games against them. He uh, he went out there, and I don't know, maybe he likes that something about that Pacers feel, but he went out there and did his thing, dropped a little 25 on them with 5 rebounds and 3 assists. Um, and of course, you can see the stats here. Uh, guys all had pretty good numbers, and a lot of the plus minuses are all pluses here.
Yeah, that looks good, man. That was a nice game. It was a great game. I mean, we I think we were going into consecutive wins, right? And we just continued the streak. Did we come in from a win on that one?
The game right before this was Toronto. That was a loss.
That was the loss, right? So
We had one back
that's
to back. We beat Milwaukee, then Cleveland, and then we lost to Toronto. So the Pacers was nice to stop that losing.
yeah, that was nice. Like I said, it was good. So yeah, we didn't have the streak going, but it was good that we came out of that loss, get this win, and in the fashion in which you kind of spoke about when you were calling those games, you felt like this was the revenge game, that we were going to see a different motivated Knicks team, and I was looking forward to it. I just know when I started watching that game, I was like, okay, Ron has called this game a win for us. Looking forward to watching what the outcome would be. And just off jump though, just Mitch was just off jump the guy. Mitch and Alfred came to play. You know what I mean? And that was interesting to see.
Yeah, no, no. Mitch has definitely shown that maybe he, those first couple games of the season, he realized that he was reverting back into some old bad habits with regards to the fouling, and his effort was a little lackluster. Wasn't as enthusiastic and exuberant that you'd expect from a young guy like Mitch, the way he plays. So yeah, he definitely stepped it up and did a good
Yeah.
job staying on the court. I think here you could see right next to that +10 number is the fouls. He only had 3 fouls. So yeah, he did a good job staying on the court.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing to see. And is that saying no turnovers? That's the turnovers, right? Right behind him. Yeah. So no turnovers, 2 blocks, 1 assist. Oh no, yeah, 1 assist, and then the
Yep.
rebounds, 9 rebounds.
Yeah. Yeah.
8 for 10. That was the alley oop game.
Yes, that was the alley oop game. Correct. Yeah.
He was getting everything by the rim. No one was controlling that paint like he was that day.
Yeah.
And the other takeaway I had was the Julius Randle's effort defensively in that game, because he didn't have the offensive numbers that he had prior to this game, but he showed up defensively. He didn't shoot well from the field, but defensively he brought it. He had one-on-one stops against Sabonis, who pretty much had every Nick number the first game. So that was a good look.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right.
What do you
And
think,
the,
Ron?
the good thing about it too is that I like the fact that um, he didn't have his shot going, but it didn't stop him from contributing to the team. You know what I mean? He still had 11 rebounds. He had 8 assists, 2 steals. Like he was still doing. And this is I don't know if it's an infamous thing with the Knicks, but historically, I can't remember um, too often a lot of players on the Knicks contributing in other ways at a higher level. You might get guys out there that can go out and drop points, or you might get a guy who can facilitate, get assists, but they're not trying to fill up the categories by doing other things to help the team. And this year, I feel like a lot of the players are trying to do whatever they can to help the team, whether it be rebounding, steals, assists, blocks, whatever they can, they're trying. And for the most part trying to limit the turnovers, but they happen. But yeah, I think Randall did great with regards to that. He definitely is showing that he's trying to do whatever it takes to win. Uh, as you can see, I already mentioned Barrett's game. That was a good game for him. Mitch played well. Peyton played well, 19 points and 5 assists and 8 rebounds. Mm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, he played up to expectation. Like he played up to his competition, I want to say, right? Because Brogdon, went off again on us. It's a solid player, but Oladipo had one of those kind of um, in between games. He wasn't great. He wasn't too bad. He got to the line a lot, and that's the thing with Oladipo. He gets to the line a lot. He knows how to draw those fouls. But I would say Brogdon was their main player. Turner didn't do much. Sabonis didn't do much. So it was a great defensive effort by our team. I'm looking at the stats. What stands out to me is Bullock would help with assisting in rebounds there.
Hmm.
Even Noel with his 6 rebounds there as you scroll up. But like these guys put in the effort to rebound the ball, to box out, to play good team defense. Um, yeah, man. And Barrett shot efficient. He
Yeah.
was efficient from the 3-point line. He was 4 for 5. You know what I mean? And you don't really catch that with Barrett. But for whatever reason, he likes shooting in that gym. And I think he might just be comfortable. But he also had a bad shooting night the day before that, and there was talks of him going back to the gym and putting up some shots. So he puts in the effort.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you gotta go out there, right, and get those extra reps, get those extra shots up, and one of the good things on Barrett is that you know, he is a hard worker. You know, uh, he got a lot of hype and hoopla coming into the league, not just because of the fact that he went to Duke and his skill set, but also because of his work ethic, right? You got people who work with him, and one of his mentors, I think, who his godfather is Steve Nash, who has sings high praises about him, and the fact that he said that this guy's going to be a star in this league. Just got to give him time. And
Yeah.
it's still, it's his second year. He's still learning how to be better. He's still learning how to pick and choose his spots. Um, and I think over time he's gonna understand how to handle his good games and how to compensate for his bad games. So, but this was definitely one of the better ones.
Yeah, no, absolutely. He did a good job in that game. And I think we talked about it before, it all plays to, like, the better he is at his mid-range game, it would just play so much more effectively throughout the rest of his game. Like his driving to the hoop and him having access when they're trying to clog up the middle, being able to pull up for that short 15 footer, staying inside of the, mid range game, work that, and then work his way out into the 3-point line. I'm sure that's something that the coaches are talking about with him. And I've seen spurts of him trying to utilize that, but it hasn't been as consistent. And we'll talk about it as we go down through the week as you start seeing the inconsistencies in his shooting and just like kind of where like we'll just start to talk about that a little later, especially when it comes to minutes and his effort on the offensive end, because defensively he's always on. You know what I mean? I don't ever see him taking time off on the defensive side.
Right.
um,
I
but we
agree.
didn't speak about Rivers, so what do you think about Rivers' performance in Pacers?
Well, you know what? I'm gonna put this back up really quickly one more time because you're right. We didn't have a chance to talk about Rivers, but the other thing I wanted to highlight that I'll mention right now is if you look, you can see that Rivers actually he had 15 points, right? He had 2 rebounds, 2 assists in 17 minutes. I mean, that is very efficient. I mean, 15 points in 17 minutes on 6 of 9 shooting. He was 3 of 6 from three, and mind you, this is, if I'm not mistaken, I think this is like his second game back. I could be wrong, but it's definitely
Yeah.
one
Yep.
of his first or like his second or third games back. No preseason, not being able to play with the guys and get real comfortable. So this was a good showing by him.
Yeah, no,
Um,
absolutely. This has been a terrific signing. I agree with you there. And just to actually see, this was Quickly's first game back, and just to see that combo between Rivers and Quickly, we got a sense of what that could potentially look like, which was nice to see. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing this group grow together as a unit. I know we lost Noel for a little bit of time after this game, but just having him come back, and now that we have our boy Taj Gibson, you know what I mean? To
Taj in the
solidify,
building.
you could solidify that spot where we were weakened, because we talked about it earlier in the season. It's like we don't have much depth in the center position, and as of right now, Obi Toppin's been shelved for quite some time. And as he comes back, what role will he be playing? Will he be playing the mix power forward, small forward position? Will they have Randall then take up some more responsibility as a small forward and having Toppin as a power forward, or vice versa? Like, we don't know what we're going to see. We know that they've played with each other a little bit to begin the season, and they've utilized Randall as the 5, a small 5, and Toppin at
Mhm.
the 4. But there's talks of him being super versatile. And the way Robinson is playing recently, I could see him moving over to the 3 and having Barrett at the 2, or even a shooter at the 2, whether that's Reggie Bullock or Burks when he gets back.
Right.
Like, not to start any games, but just like as a rotation. I could see that happening and working off of Toppin and Randall as a 1-2 combo, pick and roll, pick and pop type of situation. But I'm looking forward to seeing these young kids grow, man. It's all about development. We talked about that. I'm not going to get too high, too low on our Knicks. I'm going to be super supportive. I'm liking what I'm seeing. What do you think, Ron? Where
I
you
agree
at
with
with it?
you, man. I agree with you. And before we move on and get into the next game, I just wanted to just highlight, put something in the back of your head right here. If you look at the
Mm-hmm.
minutes, look at the minutes. Randall
Mm-hmm.
37, Mitch 29, Barrett 42, Peyton 34, Bullock 33. Just
Mm-hmm.
keep in mind that how these minutes are going for these young Knicks. Um,
Yeah.
and I think that's going to set stuff up for future games that the Knicks are playing, and how time is managed, and their efficiency, should I say, because it could prove to be an issue later.
Well, while you're speaking on that, what do you think is what do you think is the philosophy of the Knicks coaching staff and Coach Tibbs as the head guy, and what would be your opinion on what you would like to see moving forward? Before we go into the Hawks game is next, right? They went
Yeah,
to the Hawks.
yeah. I think personally, I think that Thibodeau has a history of you know going with what works, right? He likes his a certain type of rotation of players that he knows he's confident and comfortable with, that know his style, his game plan and his style of play, and he likes to continue to utilize those players because he trusts them. Plus, he thinks they give him the best chance to win the basketball games, which you can't fault that. You understand it. However, I think we realized that he had many issues in the past with, some might say, time management and practices. And when he left Chicago and he went into a new situation in Minnesota, that was one of the worries, right? But then he got to Minnesota, and he had a primarily mix of young and veteran talent, but there was a lot more young talent over there. And so it was how they would buy in, and there was some issues with how he used them. I guess he was expecting to have that same feel that he got from Chicago players, but there was more youth over there, and they didn't really buy in. And then but he did have Jimmy Butler, and Butler, was the catalyst for helping bring that together. And he realized that it wasn't necessarily working out, for them on the whole, and it led to a lot of controversy. And then it's the whole pointing fingers at Thibodeau. Is he the right guy to help the youth, right? So then he goes to take coaching jobs with other places, the Clippers, and he said that one of the things that helped him is he watched Doc Rivers manage his teams and how he used them, and it gave him a better understanding of today's NBA and how the young guys play, and what you need to do in order to make them happy and get the best out of them. So I think now that he's with the Knicks, he knows this, and he's has a better understanding. So I'm hoping that the way he's using them now is only because he's a new coach and he's bringing a new system to the team. He wants them to understand the system, and once he feels they have a good handle on it, then he can start pulling back on some of the minutes, and start interweaving some of the other players on the team, the bench players. But as long as you've got that core and everybody knows what they're supposed to be doing, and if you get into a jam, hey, you bring in a couple guys off the bench, but the Knicks start to go on a little bit of or the other team starts to go on a little bit of a run, you go back to your starters or whoever you normally lean on, and they can come back and stabilize things. So you're not losing the game just because you put a guy off the bench in the game. That's what I'm thinking he's trying to. At least I'm hoping. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's about right. And also with the limited amount of time they've had to practice and just to be together and go over, offensive schemes. I think he's pretty reliant on his defense to take them over the top and be in the game in order to keep them in the game. And they're relying heavily on defense, which is generally Coach Tibbs. You know what I mean? That's his philosophy, defense first. But I don't think they've had the time to kind of work in other schemes offensive in the scheme of things. Like, for instance, we notice as we're watching the games that it's basically Barrett and Alfred who run the pick and roll game. And they work off of Randall pretty much. And he'll make the decisions whether they're gonna, shoot for an open three or drive to the basket. It's usually Randall's decision. And then the pick and roll is usually ran by Alfred Payton. But that's kind of the simple style of basketball, more old school, more, 90s, 80s basketball, which you can obviously win, utilizing that type of basketball or playing that type of basketball, but it's also predictable to a degree. And as we move into the season, I would like to see how that develops over time. And of course, we have to have people healthy. Like, there's no doubt about it. You can't work in new schemes, and we literally played one of those games, and I don't recall which one it was, but we're like 8 players available. Everybody else was hurt. It was crazy. So I'm looking forward to us getting healthy first and foremost, and seeing how these kids can start getting minutes on the floor together, and then we'll see how they start developing together, and then we'll see if they start to implement some schemes offensively to see where we're at. But again, it doesn't surprise me. I'm sure it doesn't surprise you that Tibbs is going with an 8-man roster or 8-man rotation, because that's just that's the way you build chemistry. And you need a first and second team. At the very least, you need a first and second team. You can work in a third team rotation, but generally you need a first and second team, and then hopefully you could build on getting a shooting team where you could utilize Knox at the 5 or
Right.
whatever. But we'll see.
Yeah, man.
We'll
Yeah,
see.
I hope that we do see that he has their best interest at heart with regards to preserving these young guys, and getting the most out of them, because you definitely don't want to run them into the ground. But that being said, why don't we take a look at the next game, which
Yeah,
was the Knicks and Hawks.
the Hawks. Yes, sir. Now this was an interesting game. I'll say, because going into it, we were the underdog.
Yeah. Let me see. Give me a second.
You
I think
know,
I think
I was
the
interested when it started the game. It was an interesting
okay, there we go. Sorry, having a little difficulty pulling that up. I think it's good now. Can you see that?
It's all good. It's all good. Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
I got it.
Okay.
It's
Good.
up.
All right. Sorry. Yeah. But bear with us here. We have some internet issues, but we'll work through it and get it right. But yeah, so Knicks played the Hawks, and this was another one of those games where it might you know deemed to be kind of tough for them, because they were both 4-3 going into the game, and the Hawks have a really good team in my mind. I think what they put down on paper, the mix of players, the youth, and the abilities, they're a tough team, and they can score some points. So the fact that the Knicks came out and they took it to the Hawks and they wound up beating them, I was ecstatic.
Yeah, it was a fun game to watch. And I'm looking at this box score, and wow, 26 for Barrett. So he had 2 back-to-back strong nights. Randall came out of a shooting slump and scored 28, had 9 assists, 17 rebounds. That's huge.
Yeah,
That's a great performance by Randall.
yeah. They let's see,
Wow.
who else did some
So what
stuff.
do you think?
Um, Yeah, I mean, 28, 17, and 9, almost a triple double. Barrett 26, 11, and 5. Uh, oh yeah, look at Mitch. Uh, this was one of those where he played 28 minutes, but it doesn't seem like it when you look at the stats. 8 points, 7 rebounds, and four steals though, and 2 blocks. 4 steals from your center. That's nice. That's very helpful. That's
Hmm.
very helpful to the cause. Um,
Yeah,
and then you had Rivers who had 8, Knox 6, and quickly
yeah,
17. And the good thing about this game was, if I remember correctly, yeah, quickly and Rivers both scored big points in the fourth quarter to help them solidify the victory.
yeah, yeah. That was one of those games where they came out, and that's actually when the hashtag started, right? The Quivers
Yeah, yeah, Quivers.
hashtag um, right after this game.
Yeah, this is and I know you're still not
Quivers, yeah.
on board
But
with the Quivers
yeah,
thing.
and also like even though Knox, yeah, I'm not feeling that too much. But when I'm looking at Knox's game, like he didn't do much shooting, but it looked like he was in that game. And he may have had those two crucial 3-point shots um, when he was brought in.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, no, I think he did. Yeah, that's if I'm yeah, now it's coming back to me. I remember that. Yeah. And the good thing about those shots was it did happen in the fourth quarter. Him scoring those two crucial 3-point shots, Rivers scoring his big buckets quickly went off in that fourth. Yeah, a mix of those three.
Yeah, and it was a close game in the fourth quarter, right? Like we've did we come we were down like 16, right? Or something like that. We were down in that game and we made a comeback.
Yeah.
And we slowly chipped away. And like our boy, what's the point guard's name for the Hawks? What's his name?
Oh, Trae Young.
Trey Young. Yeah, I couldn't recall his name. But Trey Young was getting all these tick attack fouls, and it was like, oh man, it's gonna be one of those nights where you just like he's on the free throw line consistently. And it was nice to see quickly give him a taste of his own medicine in that fourth quarter.
Right.
So that I enjoyed watching.
Yeah, I thought that definitely was was good to see, and I'm glad that the Knicks are, they're taking on these teams, but they're not backing down, no matter who the other player is, whatever superstar or star they got, they're coming to play. This is basketball, man. Everybody can play defense if you try and give the effort, and everybody can score if you work at it. So doesn't matter if you're a superstar or not.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I agree with that sentiment. And we're running this one, right, Ron? We're just gonna push through this one
Yeah,
and
yeah.
get through this recording and hopefully have something to share with everyone. So you're from time to time you may see us interrupt each other, but bear with us. We'll get it together. We'll try our best to, give each other a little bit of time. So that means that will mean that we will probably have some dead air until we get a little groove going. So I'm gonna say, take it away, Ron, for now as we move on to the next game.
All right, sounds good. So the next game on the schedule was the Utah Jazz, and that game was a game that I personally uh, felt like could be uh, on the fence. I didn't think that we would necessarily win this game, and I was pleasantly surprised and happy that the Knicks went out and showed supreme effort. They took it to one of the better defensive teams in the league. You know, the Jazz had just came into the area and played Brooklyn, and Brooklyn basically blew them out. And I was expecting that they were going to come back the next night and play the Knicks and give the Knicks the business. So this was definitely a great game to see. Julius Randle went out there, gave him 30 points, 16 rebounds, 7 assists. Another high quality game from what I guess you could say he's their star player now. And then Barrett, on the other hand, was not that great this game, but he did a lot to help them win, and he did enough that he didn't make them lose, should I say? Because if you look at the plus and minuses, they're all pluses there once again for the starters. So they all did what they needed to do to win. Peyton had another great game, 22 and 8. Um, Mitch 9, 14, 3 blocks, 2 steals, 2 assists. Even Mitch is trying to do a little something, whatever he can do to help the team. And let me just take a look real quick at Knox. And this was the Rivers game, right? Correct. This is when Rivers went off in the fourth quarter and scored 14 points in a row. And this is where the phrase that I like to coin him as the X Factor. This is. What do you think about how they played in this game?
Nice. I lost you a second there, Ron. What was that question?
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. I said, what did you think about how they played in this game, and especially how Rivers played?
Oh yeah, like this was the game that I didn't expect that you called. You know what I mean? Like this is part of your 3-1. But I know you didn't call it specifically for this team, but it turned out that it was specifically for this team. But either way, you were correct with the 3-1 prediction. Um, but yeah, it was an amazing game, man. I look, coming into 2 wins in a row, a lot of momentum. Again, Utah losing by a lot. I think they got blown out by Brooklyn. And coming into this game, they had a chip on their shoulder. They wanted to come away with a win. It showed resiliency by our Knicks. The Knicks team came out resilient. They set the pace. Alfred Payton, Julius Randle, they really got into it. And thing that really stood out to me was how Mitch was rebounding the ball in this game. He was going up with 2 hands. He was snatching it out the air. He was being super aggressive, and he stood out of foul trouble. I mean, we got 2 fouls here, and 41 minutes, 41 minutes of play, and he only had 2 fouls. Like that to me shows a lot of growth
Right.
in a young player like that. It shows that he's bought in, and that Tibbs and the rest of the coaches trust Mitch on the floor now. Like where before they didn't have that much trust in him, early in the season and even in the preseason, they were kind of like, I don't know about this kid. Like, can he really pay, like keep that same intensity throughout an entire game and not get into foul trouble? And I think he did a great job in this game. And he has been a very consistent center so far. He came away just short of a double-double. He would have scored one more point. He would have been 10 and 14. Like that's 9 points, 14 rebounds. That's a nice, and his field goal percentage, he's super high, 4 of 6. You're always seeing those numbers, and I love to see that. Alfred Payton was lights out. Look at that field goal percentage. And he was basically, most of those buckets were in close range. He had his mid-range game going. He was driving to the hoop. We had talked about how how versatile he is going into the paint. Like
Hmm.
he's very skillful when it comes to like his layup game. And just overall, Bullock shot pretty well, which we got some inconsistency with Bullock sometimes, but he shot this one pretty good. The only inconsistent player this game would have to have been Barrett. I want to say what did Quickly do?
Quickly, actually, he didn't do anything really. He was
Well, he
one of
didn't
the.
play much either. Look,
Yeah,
6
yeah.
minutes.
No, this was the game where, for whatever reason, Tibbs decided not to. go back to Quickly. Quickly played those 6 minutes, and at one time early in the game, and he didn't get back on the court for whatever reason. He decided to stick with Peyton throughout the
Oh, we
majority
know
of
what
the
reason that was.
game.
I'm sorry for cutting you off, but we know what reason that was. That was Mike Conley showing that
Right,
veteran presence,
right,
and like he looked at Quickly. He was like, "Oh, this is gonna be easy." Like he looked at that, and I think you noticed that defensively, Quickly wasn't able to get into the offensive flow. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Because defensively, he was taken out by Conley. Conley did a little number on him to keep him inconsistent, and he, like I said, he didn't. He only put up one shot, right? He was 0 for 1, and
Yeah.
from the 3-point line. So, but like overall in the game, it seemed like he couldn't defend Mike Conley. And Mike Conley didn't put up numbers like that, but it's just you could tell there was a difference there when you step up against a senior level player. But Knox had a pretty good game, 3 for 3. 3-point shot went in for him, 7 points. That's not bad for 60 minutes. I'll take that.
And
I still don't know how this minus plus thing works because he's at a minus 14 here.
right,
So
yeah,
somebody one day
um,
is going to have to come on and let us know how that works.
yeah. We'll get an understanding of that at one point, eventually. I think the thing about Quickly is, he's a rookie and he hasn't played a lot of these other shooting guards and point guards. He doesn't know their tendencies, their characteristics, and how to work against them. Whereas you got a guy like Peyton who not only has played a lot of these guys before, but he's also a good defender. That's his bread and butter. And so he's just much better equipped at being able to handle the challenge. Now, if you were to tell me, like, listen, the Knicks are going to play the Utah Jazz, another one or two times, I think quickly being able to see Conley and knowing how he plays, he'll play much better defense against them. But you got to get that level of comfort and familiarity against your opponent, which he doesn't have that right now.
Yeah, no, I have to agree with you there. And plus, also, Quickly is young. I mean, we have to remember development is a part of this year for the rookie draft picks. Like we have to let them develop. And I know this obviously talk all over the newspapers after the first 2, 3 games that he played. They like give him the keys and let him run the team. We have a point guard here. You know what? You can tell that he's going to run into situations like this throughout the season. And I think the smart decision is the way and the approach that our team is taking right now and our coaching staff has taken. It's like, let these kids come off the bench, let them develop, let them see the game for what it is. And if they get in, if they're getting theirs off, play them a little bit more than usual, like give them the 15 to 20 minutes a game if they're on, you know what I mean? Now, if they're
Right.
off, then you may have to have a quick trigger for them. And I think also the same should be said for a kid like Knox, a young man like Knox who's just coming into his body. You know what I mean? He's finally getting the opportunity to get looked at a little or get more looks this year, where last year, for whatever reason, he was kind of like, he lost the starting position, and with Morris coming in and all of these different, extra players coming in and taking over his minutes, I think he became shell shocked by that, and it probably did something to his psyche a bit, But I'm glad they're giving him an opportunity to show what he can provide. I like to see an aggressive Knox. I want him to go back to the Knox when he was drafted in that summer league. You know what I mean? If he can be that aggressive, I
Hmm.
want to see that Knox. You know what I mean? Knox that can take it to the basket and not and try to absorb some contact. Now that he's got some weight on him, I think it's going to serve him right. It's going to serve him well, and he won't get knocked around as much. I just think like one of those things, and I've talked about this before. I'm not happy with the floater game. I think I just think it's almost playing like with fool's gold right there. He may have it in his repertoire, but it just seems off, and he seems off balance when he's doing it. I'd rather him keep away from that until he gets more practice doing that and just take it to the basket. Go to the rack. with some aggressiveness, and maybe you get the foul, maybe you don't. But at
Right.
least at that moment, we can see that you're applying yourself offensively, because defensively, he's been on point. I mean, I want to say he's been playing really good defense. So,
Yeah. No, he has. He's been using
your
his abilities. Yeah. Yeah. I agree with you. Well, you know, that was definitely a very good win. I'm very excited about it. I didn't think they were going to beat Utah. I thought that was going to be a game that they lost, and I thought they were going to come out in the next game against OKC and they were going to get that victory. So,
But
but
let's pause for a second. I just want to say, let's pause for a second, because where were we feeling ourselves after that Utah game? I'm just saying, we were
I mean,
feeling
of
ourselves a
course.
little heavy.
After, man, I thought the world forget about it. Look out, world! The Knicks is coming. When Amari said the Knicks are back when he joined the
We
Knicks,
went,
that's
we
all I
went
kept
from
playing in
not
my head. What'd you say?
yeah, we went from not making the playoffs to we went
Oh
from
yeah,
not making the
yeah.
playoffs to making the third seed
And it was like,
overnight.
yo, the P word, yo, it's out there. We here. Yeah, but that's New York, man. New York is like that. Listen,
Um,
we just get so happy for our teams. We
and
we want to be able to root for our teams. We want our teams to do good. But I think the problem with New York is that we want to be better than everybody else. We don't want to just coexist. We want to be,
fact.
hey, this is New York. And you hear my New York accent coming out. This is New York. It's just we gotta temper our expectations. I'll agree, and we've
So
talked already about this. And I was feeling a little way about them losing to OKC in this next game that they played. I wasn't happy about it. I thought, in some ways that the Knicks are better than OKC, and they were playing down to the competition. But when you think about it, the Knicks are in no position to feel that way. And as a fan, I really shouldn't be feeling that way either, because the Knicks haven't proven anything. They're a young team, just like OKC is a young team. OKC is rebuilding. The Knicks are rebuilding. So really, this is an even matched, you know, game, and any one of these two teams could have won this game. It just so happens OKC played a little better than us that night, because both shot bad. It was a nasty game. It was nasty. So I
yeah,
mean,
absolutely.
let me put up the box score, and you tell me what you thought about the game.
No, I think you're spot on with that. You know what I mean? And I think hindsight is 2020, because I mean, I'm sure. I mean, you and I were texting, and I was like, man, this is a let. This is a this is like a let up game right now. And it's like, oh man, especially coming off the victory with Utah. We didn't expect that. We didn't expect. We expected to come away with this with the fourth with going 4-0. Coming into this next week. And it was like, oh man, fourth quarter, bro. And it was like, oh man, no one could get it together. No one got into rhythm. And it wasn't like they weren't trying. I think they were trying, but then I think at some point in the fourth quarter, it just became about veteran players trying to take ownership of trying to spark the team to a win.
Hmm.
But it's just, then you started seeing less chemistry. Then you started seeing like Randall putting his head down, not being able to see the passing lane. Turnovers were high. You also see Rivers being out of control. Alfred Payton being out of control. And that's the kind of Nick team we seen last year that we don't want to see this year. You know what I
Right.
mean? I think there was one other game that we've seen that was what was that bad shooting game? Do you recall who was that against? Where we shot like 3 for 36 or something like that from the 3-point line. Do you recall who that was?
Um, that was, I believe it was the Toronto game.
It was a Toronto game.
It
Yeah,
was the
you're right.
Toronto game. Yeah.
Yeah, like those are the games where you start looking at. I mean, although Toronto game, I want to say they had open looks that just couldn't hit them down, like they couldn't knock them down. This game really reminded me of how they played last year, where there wasn't any chemistry. You had guys trying to do their own thing, especially in the fourth. I think the first three quarters you've seen where they were trying to get everyone involved. They had the scheme going. They just weren't hitting shots. And then fourth quarter came and you see that old mentality come back. And that's this type of stuff we want to learn from this game. I want to say take this game, put it on the shelf, go revert back to that when you try to look at a game that you don't like you don't want to see the kind of game like this. You don't want to see us go revert back to old habits. Um, so you know, I don't know. This is a game for me though, to be honest. If I was coaching, where I would have given, you know, Iggy a look. I would have given Iggy a look. I mean, what is there to lose? I would have given Theo Pinson a look. What is there to lose? Mix and match him with Robinson, and that's the one player that I say in this loss that I didn't see enough of. And I don't know if it was injury or wear and tear or he was just tired, but I would have liked to see him on the court on the fourth quarter. And I could have been I would have been okay with them sitting Randall and playing Mitch and just utilizing Knox who shot pretty well that game. He's 3 for 5 from the 3-point line, 3 for 9.
Right.
Keeping Knox, getting away from Randall, getting away from Peyton a little bit and seeing what you can do with the rest of the guys. But just like giving Iggy a look, you know what I mean? Like what's it gonna hurt, or even Pinson. At this point, it just seemed like nobody got it together in the fourth. And I wanna say this. There's good shots that you could take in the game, and then there's poor shots in the game. The poor shots is that when you're down in the game and you're down by like 3 or 6, you don't just chuck up a 3, especially if you ain't got it going from the 3-point line. There's no reason for that. And that's what I've seen from a few of these players. It's like you're chucking up a 3 and you're not even consistent. And you're not even warm enough to, like, there's no consistency there on your 3-point game today. And you notice because you shot him 1 for 5 for Barrett, 1 for 4 from Peyton. You shot him. You're not consistent. Go to the basket, hit the mid range. Like, there's bad shots and there's good shots. They just took some poor shots this game, and because they weren't hitting, they weren't on. It didn't show up, and that gave the game to OKC, man.
Yep. No, I agree with you. I mean, and you saw like when I scrolled down that field goal percentage, they shot 35% from the field. Oh, I mean you can't. You're lucky if you win a game and you're shooting that low from the field. Uh, what can you say? You just thank the heavens because that's horrible. And they shot 60% from the free throw line as a team. It was just one of
Yep.
them nights,
Look,
man.
my Walt Frazier voice, atrocious. That was atrocious
Yeah,
shooting
no, it
from the
was, it
field.
was, it was atrocious. The
Just
yeah, it was horrible. The
yeah,
illuminators
man.
were not illuminating at the Garden. Not this night. Um,
Ah,
yeah,
go ahead, Ron.
yeah, it was not happening. So, and to your point about Mitch, it would have been nice to see Mitch play a little longer. But after the game, when Thibodeau was being interviewed, he mentioned that he went away from Mitch at a certain point because Mitch wasn't feeling too good. I don't know if he was
Okay.
dealing with a bug or whatever, but so maybe that's the reason why we didn't see him. Uh,
Right.
on the reverse, I don't know why we saw so much of Peyton. Um,
I mean,
Peyton,
what's his numbers? 4, 16, 31 minutes, 16 points. I mean, he was all right. He was a +1. He was okay.
yeah, but wouldn't you have liked to have seen, a little bit more of quickly or quickly played 17 minutes. He didn't have it. Okay, he wasn't shooting that well. But the point is, you want to get somebody else involved. Maybe not even quickly. Like your point, you mentioned Theo Pinson, or rotate the guys, put guys in different positions. Have RJ handling the ball more, or Rivers, whatever, and bring Iggy into the game and allow him to do something. I agree with you wholeheartedly. I definitely think they should have played. This is one of those games where no one really had it. Everybody shot poorly. If I'm looking at everybody, okay, maybe
Right.
one person that was somewhat decent was Randall. 8 for 15 is not too bad, and he still had 12 rebounds and 7 assists. I gotta tell you, man, this Julius Randle has really turned it around. I don't know if it was us
Yeah, I mean, he played
fans.
well.
Yeah, I don't know if it's us as fans
Right.
being too harsh on
Pretty
him,
much.
but he's shown me some things.
I think one thing that took him out of this game in particular was his foul trouble. He ran into foul trouble early, and he had to, be a little better second half. And so he was playing with fouls, and so he wasn't as aggressive defensively. So that's what I'm saying. Like, even if you went away from Randall and you brought in a Theo Pinson for some limited amount of minutes, just to see what he had in that fourth, because right now it wouldn't have changed him. I mean, when you look at, I want to say OKC got some really good talent, right? They're young,
Hmm.
but they're talented. You know what I mean? And they got some really aggressive players. They got what's the kid? Is is Diallo and
Yeah, Hamadou Diallo,
um
um,
is Dork on that team?
Dork is there, Maladon. Uh,
Dork is
you got
there, right?
Gilgis Alexander.
Right. And there's some talent there, you know what I'm saying? And just looking at the overall scheme and the way they were playing, it's like, even if you went deeper into the bench that game, and let's say Randall, because of the foul trouble, wasn't going to play the defensive game that he's been playing in the past few games, you
Hmm.
remove him. You take away that kind of anxiety there. You know what I mean? Or you take that away from him and you say, all right, let's rest up, and I'm gonna take a look at some guys, right? Because Bullock 3 for 8, he didn't really. I don't know. There was something about his game that really didn't stand out for me. And then again, and when you look at Peyton's game, although he scored 16, there wasn't enough there to show that you want him on the floor in the fourth quarter. But Barrett was decent. He should have stood away from the 3-point line. But let's say you have Barrett, right? And you keep Barrett on the floor, or you run Austin and Barrett at the 1-2, right? And you make plays with them, and then you bring in an Iggy or Theo Pinson, or Iggy and Theo Pinson, or Iggy and Knox. You know what I mean? And you see what you potentially could have, especially if you don't got Mitch Robinson. If you ain't got Mitch, then we didn't have any other bigs, right? Did Noel play this game? How did Noel
Nerlens.
do? Oh yeah, he played this game.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
he did come back from this game.
I don't know exactly what did he do. He no points, 11 minutes. So he didn't play much. Yeah, he
Two
didn't play much.
right. So I mean, like, you could get. I would have liked to see something. You know what I mean? Like something out of a quick, faster paced team. And just get a look, man. I mean, if we were coaching, I know you said you like the idea of looking deeper into the bench, but if we were coaching, we would have probably took that as an opportunity to see what we have, because it's a long season. And if you don't really have the time to practice with these guys, how do you really know what they could provide or not provide in a game time situation? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That would have been an optimal game to do so, in my opinion. But
No,
who am I?
I I agree with you, man. Listen,
I'm just an inspired Knicks fan.
you know what I mean? That's all. That's all.
Who says that us Knicks fans are the most knowledgeable fans in the world? Who says that? I think everybody says
Yeah, I think
that.
fellow Nick fans. Yeah, all the Nick fans. We are the smartest. Hey, listen, man. This was one of those games where, it they were evenly matched teams. It could have went either way. We just wish that it would have favored on the side of the Knicks. But it was bad shooting game all around. And I had tweeted this earlier in the night while I was watching the game. Like, this is a type of game that the Knicks are going to have to learn how to win in the future. Like, this is the type of adversity. If you want to become a good team, you know, you're going to have to learn how to win these type of games. I just want to take a look real quick. Yes, yeah, Gilgis had 25. Okay, I was curious about that. And Diallo had 23. Yeah, they got scoring from
And
two people,
yeah,
but it was
and they
enough.
weren't strong in the first half. I mean, neither team was good the first half. I think we had so many chances to take that game over, and we stunk it up, and to the point where they got comfortable and they were able to make shots. And then they also played bully ball against us, knowing that we had nobody in the paint to defend. You know,
Mm-hmm.
when you have Randall with 5 fouls, who's going to defend? You know what I mean? I mean, he's 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 barely a presence as a shot blocker. He doesn't really block shots. You know what I mean? He is strong defensively as a one-on-one defender, but you know, with 5 fouls on him, he's not going to gamble. And he's one of those players that want to stay on the floor. So
Right, right. Well, I'll tell you one thing. Um, the Knicks definitely gotta, figure out a better way to open up their offense when they have struggles. There's so many different sets out there that teams orchestrate when things are not going well or a defense is showing them a certain look. Knicks need to learn how to run, it sounds, kind of college like, but run a weave play. Have guys intertwining the ball and moving the ball around and then get backdoor cuts, easy baskets. You need to figure out ways to get yourself out of shooting slumps or if not, still be able to score the basket as easily as possible. You know what I mean? So that you have a chance to win these games. Because
especially especially against that zone.
right,
You know what I
right,
mean?
right,
Which they showed a lot of. They showed a lot of the zone defense where they clogged up the middle. They were forcing us to shoot perimeter shots. And it's like you have to be able to hit those mid-range. That mid-range game is important, especially in the zone. You need a center who's going to be able to face the basket and be aggressive. You know what I mean? Have him in the high post, turn towards the basket, look for your shot, and then play off of that center. You know, that's a reality in the NBA game, especially if they're playing zone. So yeah, I agree with you. But again, it all goes back to like how do we develop these players and having time with them in practice, which we haven't had. And can you start developing plays or developing schemes while you're in the middle of a season? I don't know. Is there enough time for that? Like, are you going to spend so much time doing that you lose sight of how many minutes you having them out there practicing and going into a game unrested? It's all these different things and nuances to the game that, us as fans, we don't take into consideration. But, I'm just glad that we have started the season where we're over 500, right? At 5-4 right now.
right,
You know what I mean? None of us expected this. So I'm thankful. I'm thankful that the start of the season, I've had haters hitting me up saying, "What are you expecting? An 0-20, like 1-20 start?" And it's like, and that you can't even come back from that. You're like, okay, yeah, and all the negative things that you can hear, we were hearing them as Knicks fans. And to start
right,
5-4, listen, we got to be proud. We got to be proud about the organization and the moves that they've made. And God forbid I give somebody some credit. Dolan, giving him credit for staying away from the media and away from the limelight and giving the ring to Leon Rose, like giving that up, you know what I mean? And allowing is it Leon Rose to make those decisions
right,
because, just off the bat, bringing in Tibbs, somebody who was up for the position when they went with Fizdale, or when they went, or even when like as far as when this guy became general manager,
Steve Mills.
well, Steve Mills, right, and the whole debacle when it came to like hiring, what was Lakers?
Phil Jackson.
I'm trying to forget Phil because he's never been a Knick in my mind. I mean, he was a player. He
Hey,
was a
he did win
player.
a championship with the Knicks, so
He did win a championship with them, but it's like he's always been that guy who like when I see Phil, automatically go to the Bulls and
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
like in those years, and those was horrible for me as growing up in the '90s,
Mhm.
um, and early '80s and late '80s, because I'm a '78 kid. You know what I'm saying? We're hitting the 40 mark here, so being able to see that, you know what I'm saying? Being able to see that and witnessing those heartbreak games against the
Right.
Bulls. Every time I see Phil Jackson, I'm not happy to see him. I'm just like,
No, I hear you, man. Listen, no one's gonna fault you for that.
even more so now that he ruined the Knicks. You know what I mean? Like he had his time, he had an opportunity to get us to a better state than we were in, and he botched it. He botched it big time. You know?
Well, hey, man, look, you know, it was an era that the Knicks went through as an organization, and we had to deal with as fans, and hopefully they learned a lot from it, and that's the reason why they put together what I think is a solid group of individuals running the team now. They've got solid coaches. I like the way they're moving.
Yeah.
I like their mindset. I like the fact even prior to Leon Rose coming in and them bringing in all these new coaches. I like the fact that even under Steve Mills and Scott Perry, and Scott Perry is still there, uh, there was a lot of due diligence with stuff. When the Knicks would look at draft picks, or they would do a lot of research, and that's carried over now. Even before the draft, when they
Right.
got Toppin and they brought in quickly, they were going through a lot of different young guys, looking at different guys. They went through a lot of different coaches to bring the coaches in. So this team, instead of in the past where we wouldn't hear about what they're doing or however they're doing their due diligence to find people, now we're seeing it, and they're doing a lot of it. So, and I think that's what's allowing them to make these
Yeah.
big moves.
Yeah. No, I have to agree with you there, and I'm liking what I'm seeing. I think it's been long overdue. We're almost 20 years in without actually being relevant. You know what I mean? Even more so, right? What was the last relevant team? You want to say Melo and Stoudemire had a nice little run. They had
Yeah, I
that
would.
one playoff run, right?
Yeah, that one playoff run where we had Jason Kidd and Rasheed Wallace. Yeah, Kurt Thomas. That was a good team.
But it was an older team, it was mixed with older players, a lot of vets on that team. So
Right,
it was a good team. Um, but it wasn't something that we expected to go far into the playoffs. At
right.
least now we're looking at our team and we're saying, wow, we got some players. We may not have all the talent in the world, but we have players that have bought in. We have
Mhm.
a nice mix of young and some veteran players, considered, Randall, even though he's young, I would consider him now at his peak. He's a veteran. He's probably his sixth year or fifth year in the league. And
Yeah,
then you
yeah,
got
around there.
guys like Alfred Payton about the same. You know what I mean? Austin Rivers about the same. So you got some really quality. I want to consider them young vets. And then you bring a guy like Tajin, who's going to bring that real veteran
George in the
leadership and
building.
that. Yeah, what we calling? What's going to be his nickname? Uncle Taj.
Uncle Taj, man.
Yeah, man. Um, but I think it's going to work, man. And he's going to be able to teach and keep those centers in line. He's gonna be an impressive leader there. The great thing about someone like Taj is that if you give him minutes, he's gonna give you solid minutes, and he's also gonna defend. And he could hit that. He could be that center who turns towards the basket and hits an open jump shot when they're
Yeah,
giving it to him.
he can shoot.
And I want to see him help develop that for both Mitch and Noel. Because when I'm looking at Noel, I'm like, you have the speed. Like you have the speed. You could take advantage of that speed. And we've
Hmm.
noticed it in spurts, but like he doesn't do it. And that's why I always said, and I think I said it in our last podcast with uh when I look at Noel, I see a power forward. I don't see a center. I see a slashing power forward, a power forward who could take it to the basket, who could be a pick and roll guy. Um, I see more of that. Like
Right.
like a Anthony Davis that you see in Kentucky, where he was kind of like the slasher, didn't have the jump shot really all the way
Hmm.
there.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Um, but I think he could develop it. I think he can. He just has to be able to put in the work. But playing at center, I see it. I see him not really that guy. I know they're utilizing him as a center, but I don't know. I don't know how that's going to play out. And then we don't know what Toppin's going to look like when he gets back, and how many minutes will he get, and will that take minutes away from Noel or from Taj? I don't know.
Right.
Toppin being what 6'8", 6'9".
Hmm.
Would they use him as a three and see what he could do there, or is he just a four? You know what I mean? Who knows? It's a lot to be thankful for. It's a lot. I'm optimistic. I'm liking what I'm seeing. Depending on when we air this, it may depend on like where we at. I mean, we have a game tonight, almost in another 2 hours or so. We got a
Right.
game coming up. Let me pull that out. Let's put on our schedule. You think we're ready to go into that schedule?
Yeah. Let's give it a shot. Yeah, because this next game
All
uh, is going to be one that I don't know what to expect. I mean, I have my prediction of what what it could look like. I'm hoping that I'm wrong, but we'll see. We'll see.
Start us up, man. You see it right in front of us. We got the Nuggets, Hornets, Brooklyn Nets, which is the New York game that everyone's waiting for. And we got the Cavs, and then we end the week with the Celtics on a Sunday. So tell me what your predictions are. Let's go for it. Let's rock on. Let me see what you got for us.
All right. So Nuggets are a perennial playoff team at this juncture. They've got great guys, great players on that team. They, for the most part, are the same team, so they're still together. So they're one unit. They gel. That team, the Knicks are going to lose this game. I I hope I'm wrong. Look, I hope the Knicks shock the world and come out like browbeaters or that expression, and they just tear the Nuggets up, and they're hot from the field and they're playing great defense and they win the game. But I think the Nuggets are going to win this one. You got the Knicks and the Hornets.
Well, I just want to say before you go into the Hornets, I just want to say that I'm expecting to text you later on tonight and letting you know that you were wrong. I'm messing with you, man. But yeah, I'm gonna agree with you there. I'm agree with you there. It's gonna be a tough game today. I don't expect to win this game. I would like to see the win. So let's move on to the Hornets. Let's
Listen, I
go.
look forward to that text. Give me that text. I'll be happy. Then we got the Knicks and the Hornets. Um, Hornets have been playing good basketball lately, and I could see the Knicks losing this game, but I also have a feeling that they could win it. So I'm gonna say the Knicks win this one against the Hornets, right? Then you got the Knicks against these Brooklyn Nets. I hate the Brooklyn Nets.
Ooh,
I don't like the Brooklyn Nets, and it's not because it's kind of like my love hate with the Mets and Yankees. I don't dislike the Yankees. I like the Yankees. I dislike the Yankee fans sometimes. So
mhm.
in this case, I dislike some of the Brooklyn Nets fans, and I don't like Kyrie or Durant. So because of that, I can't stand them, but they're gonna beat the Knicks
Right.
if those guys are healthy and playing. Now, if Durant is out due to COVID,
Hold on, hold on. You just said you don't like them, but you're going with them.
no, I don't like the Nets, but I know that the Nets
You heard
with
me.
their
You
best
said you don't like them, but you're going.
with their best players out there, I know they can beat the Knicks at this point. They were a good team before Kyrie and Durant got there, and with the additions of those two, they should be able to beat the Knicks. So I'm gonna say if everybody's
Right,
healthy and Kyrie wants to play basketball today, then I mean on that day, you know, then I expect them to win the game. Knicks
right.
and Cavaliers. Knicks have beat the Cavaliers in the past. I expect the Knicks to be able to beat the Cavaliers again, so I'm giving the Knicks that victory. Then you got the Knicks and Celtics. That's a loss. I don't want to
Nice.
talk about it. Celtics are nice. I'm never going to bet against the Celtics anymore. They've showed me. Look, they knocked us out in the first round of the playoffs in the past. I'm not messing with the Celtics. They got that one. So two and three out of the next five.
Right. 2 and 3. Look, that's not bad. That's definitely not bad. I hear you on that. I hear you on the Nets. I know as of a couple of games ago, Durant was still out due to COVID. So that's a big situation. So I guess we got to follow that a little closer once we get to that week, once we get into the beginning of the week.
Mm-hmm.
And if he's out, I'm saying the Knicks get a victory. And I only say this because defensively, the Nets haven't been up to par. Like defensively, even with Durant on the floor, they've been allowing like upwards of 120 points. So consistently. And for me, and I know the Knicks don't shoot the ball well, but if we could come out and keep it close and stay close into the fourth, I think we have a shot at it.
Hmm.
And because I'm a Knicks fan, I want that New York win. I want that New York win. So I'm going and I'm going to revert that. I'm going to take that loss and I'm going to make that a win and then say this week we end up 3-2, my brother. All right. I feel you with the 2-3, but I'm going to switch that up and I'll say whether or not Durant plays, I'm looking for a Knicks win. I'm going with the 3-2 for this week. And if we go 3-2 this week, that means we still have a winning record.
Very true.
You
Very
feel me?
true. Very true. I'm with you. Yo, listen, if I'm wrong and you're right, hey, I'm with it. 100%. I'm right there with you. So, I
Right,
mean,
right,
look,
right. But it's not
we'll,
about who's right and wrong, right? It's
oh,
all
no, no,
about
no, no,
being
no, definitely not.
objective. And I think you're right. I think I would have to say if I'm a betting man, I'll go with you.
No, listen, hey, I hope I'm wrong and that the Knicks are able to squeak out another win, um, and they go 3-2. But hey, listen, anything can happen in sports. I could be wrong and the Knicks lose all 5 games. So you know, hopefully that's not the case.
Whoa, whoa, blasphemy. Stop it. Now you sound like Stephen A. Smith.
Nah,
Let's
nah,
stop
nah.
it.
That's
That's
a
blasphemy.
listen. That's a fake.
We're
That's
not
a
gonna
fake Knicks fan.
co-sign.
Nah, yeah, yeah. You tell him I said it. You know, as a matter of
Absolutely.
fact,
We're not
Stephen A.
doing 0-5.
No, no. Tell Stephen A. to tune in to the podcast. I tell him to his face. Nah, you a fake Knicks fan, Stephen A. I ain't messing with you, man. Get out of here.
Rock somewhere. This is ridiculous. And I'm glad CP of got at him on Twitter. You know what I'm
Oh
saying?
yeah,
That was pretty
CP
good.
from Knicks Fans TV.
Big Fans TV, man. Call those suckers out, man. You keep doing a great job over there, hitting them on the head, letting them know what it is. And we both Ron and I are big fans of your show and KOT, but and others as well. But yeah, that was pretty cool to see on Twitter him, letting him have it or letting actually he didn't let him. He let what's his name? What's the
Max
young boy's
Kellerman.
name? Uh
Max
no,
Kellerman.
it was the other fake Nick fan because we got a lot of them.
Oh,
It was Michael Rappaport. He let him have it.
oh.
Twitter.
Hey, man, listen. You know, these guys got to understand.
Yeah, it's
You know,
Michael
we
Rappaport going to Brooklyn. You know what I'm
whatever. It is what it is. But hey, I just want to say, it's been a pleasure to get together and chop it up with you again, man. You know, I'm still happy that we got basketball back throughout this whole situation. Win or lose, I'm happy to watch these guys go out there and play and entertain us. Um, and I'm hoping for prosperity and health going forward, and maybe it'll get to the point where the fans can be out there at these games again, and the players will get that much more excited about what they do for a living. The other thing I want to say is when you shouted out CP from Nick Fans TV last week when we were talking, we were shouting out a couple of the different YouTubers that we watch in regards to the Knicks, and I failed to mention that New York Knicks with Terry
saying?
and Trey. Terry and Trey, love you guys. You guys, put together a good product. I like watching you guys, so I wanted to give y'all a proper shout out.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. I think there's a lot of great, you know what I'm saying, Nick coverage and just like um Nick fans going in on independent media outlets and just, showing up, whether it's a podcast or a YouTube show or whatever it may be, or sportscaster. It's pretty dope to see that, they got the city rocking right now. You know what I mean? And Nick fans have an outlet and we're out here and just enjoying this time, you know what I mean? Enjoying the NBA and enjoying our Knicks team. Finally, something to look forward to, you know what I'm saying? And not just like looking at each game as looking at the game and knowing that we're going to come out of that as a loser. Now we have a chance of being victorious from time to time. So it's always good to see that and feel that. You know what I
Facts.
mean?
Yeah.
So
Well, thanks again, my brother. Like I said,
yeah,
always a
man.
pleasure. I look forward to seeing you again next week. Were you gonna say something?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, before we go, man, why don't you hit the folks with the Twitter handle and share out. What's our Twitter handle? You see them on there. I'm John at Still Nick Fans.
Yeah, and I'm Ron at Still Nick Fans. Definitely, if you want to hit us up, you can catch us on Twitter, also Instagram at Still Nick Fans. We're trying our best to get out there and give you as much content as possible. Bear with us. We're still new at this. We're gonna get it better. We're gonna make sure we clean up this internet connection we're having. We got some intermittent breaks in between, but work with us. Understand that eventually the process is gonna get better. We're gonna keep doing what we can to bring you guys good content. We will look forward to putting out more and more stuff for you.
Oh, well said, my brother. It was a pleasure. Thank you so much for inviting me, as always. Looking forward to the next go.
All right. Thanks again, everybody, for tuning in. We'll see you next week. This has been Still Nick Fans. We're out of here.